The sky's not falling though. 10-2, going to the playoffs, going to end 10-3. But that
I don't think anybody's saying this. I don't think anybody's saying the sky is falling.
I've seen about 20 people actually say that, literally.
I think you're just it is two completely separate those in my mind. There is one that is the 10-2 season where you beat Alabama, and that was a ton of fun, and that was very cool. Genuinely, it was very cool, and I think Nico has had a nice little progression. I think tonight you saw he's a tough kid that has a lot of talent.
He's tougher than we all thought because he wasn't asked to show it.
And there's that. That's one conversation. And then you have the conversation about this singular game and what it means. Because what it shows is that you are not close. Like, you are not close. When you look at this and you look at the Georgia game, Georgia, you had a 10-point lead in that Georgia game, and ultimately they ended up kicking your butt. But, like, still, at least you had, that. You showed a little more backbone, and that's cool. But in this one, I mean, you will never, this is unequivocally true, I think. You will never have the kind of fan enthusiasm going in, even if you make the playoff again. And Heupel probably will. Heupel will probably make the playoff again as Tennessee's football coach. I don't think it'll be next year because you have a tougher schedule, but he probably will again. And like I said, this game might happen. You might have a more favorable draw in the future. You might get SMU like Penn State did, and Tennessee would beat the brakes off SMU. Yeah, great. That would be great. And if you played them in Neyland, fine. That would be a lot of fun. And then you made it to the quarterfinal. Cool. But the second that you run into your Ohio State, the second that you run into your Georgia, this year, maybe Oregon. I'm not sure that it's completely been shown with Oregon yet. I mean, they beat Ohio State at home. That's like the one thing that they've done. But I look across the field at what you face tonight, and you're not living in the same stratosphere as these boys. And that got completely exposed. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And what does that mean going forward? Genuinely. I mean that seriously. Because what it means, is that what it means is you're not going to win a national championship. That's what it means. You're not going to win a national championship.
We're not winning the games. We can't make it to the Natty. But my question is, so Ben Hall said this, and I'm going to read this comment, and then it kind of leads into that. It says, Charlie, you do realize it's the same team to beat Alabama, right? There's still levels to it, and that's what I want to talk about, the levels to it. Yeah. Right now we haven't reached, and I'm not going to say the word he said, blank, Ohio State status, a team that lives in the playoffs. There is a tiered, essentially, way to get there. We're on our way up there. We've been down for a long time. Miami's the same way. Florida State the same way. Southern Cal the same way. In the early 2000s, all of these teams, including us, were top dogs. Now you see what I'm getting at? And the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Michigans, we're not. It's the ebbs and flows of college football. We have to learn to get our way back. A 10-3 season, if you're going to complain about it, just go home. If you're going to complain about a double-digit win season, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk to you about it because that's complete and utter BS. And I'm just saying that in general. If you're going to complain about that, tonight sucks. Bottom line is, here's another one. Where'd it go? This is not a good way to end a 10-3 season. Talking to me. I agree. I totally agree. It's not a good way to end the season, but I'm not going to sit here and listen and partake in it's abysmal. It's this, it's that. You know what? Sometimes it ain't your night. Tonight, it wasn't even freaking close. We talked about it at halftime. You can't start down 21-0 and expect to win a ball game. You can't. The largest comeback was 17 points. We were down 21 after 3 drives. We know it wasn't good. Hell, it's, once again, 6:20 to go. It's still not good. But don't sit here and act like we will ever complain about 10-3.
But to me, you're framing it unfairly because it's strictly two fully different conversations.
But it's not. That would be like somebody saying, ready? That's like somebody saying South Carolina is the best team in college football right now because of how they played the second half. We know the first 6 games count too, bud. You can't say the first 6 games we don't count, and then we'll count the last 6. It's the same framing. It's the
I'm not
exact
saying
same thing.
I'm not saying the other 12 games didn't happen this year. They just mean something fully different, because what this means is that you cannot win a championship. It means that the teams that can win a championship are 10 miles ahead of you. And they're also 10 miles ahead of apparently Alabama and Ole Miss and some of these other definitely South Carolina. And that's just true. Like, talent wise, that is the fact that we all have a ton of catching up to do. And then when you narrow that down to just Tennessee in this conversation, what does that mean? And I
Well,
can
yeah,
I can
and well,
say
that
all
goes.
I'll say, but
Go ahead.
I'll say all of that, and also go, what Heupel has done is still a borderline miracle. Like, and I'm not getting up here saying you need to fire the guy. Certainly not. I think you just have to look at the situation realistically and go, what he's done is incredible. Also, his team's not winning a national championship as it's currently built. It's not good enough. It's
Well,
simply not
anybody that wins in the playoffs is not going to win. It's listen, man. Once you get in the playoff, it's all about draw. It is what it is. It is.
It's a big factor. It's a big factor.
It really is, because think about it. Is Arizona State a team that you get to buy? No. Is Boise State? No. But they do. It's all about draw. Okay, so I'm with you on that. It takes a lot more. Once you get in the playoff, it takes a lot of where you're placed to get there, because you need upsets. You need things to fall your way. Blah blah blah. All right. Obviously, we got this draw, whatever. But the thing is, I love this comment. I got to find it, and it's very short, sweet, to the point. I don't know where it's exactly at, but it said at a certain point, 10-3 won't be good enough.
Yeah, I'm interested in just seeing how they defend Tennessee, how that style translates if they get in trouble. I mean, Nick Saban, the best defensive coaches of all time, those first 2 years, and even really maybe the first 2.5 years that he played against Tennessee, he had no answer really for stopping the offense until the second half last season against Tennessee in Tuscaloosa, when I don't know what happened with Tennessee in that second half. They should have won that game. They didn't. But based on the first half, they were doing what they wanted to with the ball. 2022, they scored 52 points. Even in 21, they were hitting some big shots, and they were in that game in the fourth quarter and put up a lot of points. It can be a really tough defense to defend if you're not used to it. And also, I feel like maybe Tennessee will try to reach out and do a little inside information on how to beat Ohio State. They've got some connections on that Michigan staff. I don't know how beneficial that stuff is, but anything.
Maybe give Connor a ring. Say,
yeah,
hey,
well,
Connor,
I'm sure he'd be more than willing to help to see Ohio State lose. I wouldn't.
No doubt.
I'd take his call. But you got, Tennessee's linebackers coach from last year that had a good relationship with the staff, Brian Jean-Marie, that wasn't really looking to leave, but he's got a close relationship with the head coach at Michigan, Sharon Moore, who has got connections to Josh Heupel and Joey Hosley. They were at Oklahoma together in 2006 and 2007. So there's some connections there. There's some relationships there that you can reach out and be like, hey, what have you seen that this team does? What kind of tails do they have on offense and defense? Is there anything at all that we can use? And anyone from Michigan badly wants to see Ohio State lose. I mean, it's good for Michigan. It's good for recruiting. They're going after a lot of the same players there. It feels like somebody said in the comments earlier, I think it was Elias, I'm not sure. This is the one matchup that it feels like more fans around the country are in Tennessee's corner because everybody wants to see Ohio State lose, which is wild. I didn't realize there was that much disdain for Ohio State kind of nationwide. Maybe it's because there's so many ex-Michigan, former Michigan graduates that are in media, and maybe that's part of it. We hear them a little bit louder than some of the other people, but it definitely seems like this is the one time that's like, yeah, we're all pulling for Tennessee in this one. Don't let us down.
I'm tripping on this a lot, but I feel like this really is the case for everybody in the SEC. I think everybody in this league views Ohio State as they're just kind of born with a silver spoon in their mouth, where, I've looked at Tennessee over the last 15 years, and I went, if Tennessee played in the Big Ten, they would have won 9 games every single year in the Big Ten, even during those dark days. Like, those teams would have been talented enough. If it was the same exact roster and coaches and everything that Tennessee had, they would have been like a 9-win team in the Big Ten during those years. And I feel like we all look at Ohio State and just go like, okay, yeah, you're in the playoff, but when you actually show up, you never win. And I guess they did that year with Urban.
Yeah. And they could. I mean,
they could.
It really is coaching. I mean, they should have probably won a couple. They should have beat Georgia 2 years ago. And Marvin Harrison getting hurt really did Georgia a favor there, because I feel like that game was definitely going Ohio State's way, and that was a good Georgia team. But it feels like the coaching has let them down, and Ohio State can go out and get almost whoever they want. I mean, it's a great job. You recruit well there. It's kind of like when Kirby took over Georgia. You just need somebody to get you over the hump. I don't know who that person would be, but if they did move on from Day and hired somebody, that's a instantly dangerous. I mean, they're dangerous now. I mean, they're a few wins away from winning a championship if they can get it together. It can be a juggernaut there, but I feel like Ryan Day is definitely what's held them back these last few years. Yeah. And at this point, if they do lose, I don't know if they fire him. I don't know his buyout situation or what they would actually do at this point in college football. Though I wouldn't put anything off the table. Once you've seen Bill Belichick go to North Carolina and some of the other crazy moves that have happened over the last few years, I feel like anything's on the table and anything's possible. But it would be a pretty big move to fire a guy that made the playoff.
I do think. Did I see that Day got the dreaded vote of confidence? I think with the AD,
which is just for recruiting purposes, always, no matter where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that almost makes me think more that if he loses this game, he's
often, be yeah.
It really does mean that a lot of the time. But we do have to get to this so that we can move on to a little bit transfer portal in the show, a little bit of basketball, because they had amazing game against Illinois. We got to talk about it. Call it, Zach. We've talked all about the matchup. Now, great defenses, suspect offenses. It's going to be cold. How are you feeling about this one, Zach?
Oh, I mean, the anxiety is going to be at max at Saturday by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be really nervous, even though lots of people have said Tennessee's playing with house money in this. I mean, Tennessee doesn't view it that way. Josh Heupel shot that down real quick, but I think fans feel that way. You lose this game in Columbus, it's like, yeah, that's tough. It's a tough draw. You made the playoff, though. Lane Kiffin's sitting at home. Kalen DeBoer sitting at home. Eli Drinkwitz, Shane Beamer, they're all preparing for bowl games that they don't really want to go to, and you're in the playoff. You're in the mix. So it's a great season for Tennessee no matter what, especially when you consider they had a redshirt freshman quarterback, beating Alabama, beating Florida, and winning some big games for them. So, yeah, the pressure does obviously feel like it's on Ohio State in this one. With that said, man, it's on the road. It's going to be it's Ohio State's house. They're coming off that Michigan loss. I think the players really want to win this game on both sides, but I think Ohio State, the bad vibes around the program, around Ryan Day, I think the players will probably be able to overcome that. I mean, just they probably don't care that much about that stuff. They just want to go win the national championship. That's why they're there. I think it's going to be a really, really close game, fairly low scoring, but I mean, I just can't trust Tennessee on the road yet. They haven't shown me that they can win a big game on the road yet. I mean, I know they got that Oklahoma win, and that was a big win, but that wasn't a very good Oklahoma team. You haven't been able to win at Florida against not great Florida teams. You've had good halves against Alabama and Georgia, but you haven't played a complete game. So until they do it, I just can't believe it. So I think Ohio State wins like 24-20. I think it's pretty close.
24-20, Ohio State. Very, very fair. Ohio State winning this game is probably the more quote unquote likely outcome. They're going to be a heavy favorite. I think everybody's going to choose them to win this game. Kind of to what I was saying earlier with their fans. I don't think it's crazy for them to think, oh, I'll save my money here and then maybe take a trip to Pasadena next week, if something like that. And I saw this get brought up, that the last time that Ohio State lost to Michigan and then played an SEC team in the playoff, it was that Georgia game. It was the very first time It was 4 years ago, if I'm thinking correctly. The very first time that Day lost to Michigan, and now he's on this streak that has their fans hating him. But they lost. They still lost that game, but they did come out with their hair on fire. I remember thinking before that Georgia game, oh, Georgia's going to come out here and run these boys out of the gym.
Yeah, I had that feeling too.
Yeah, I remember distinctly thinking that. I do think Ohio State will come out. Oh, it was 2022. Sorry, not 4 years ago. Well, whatever. So
yeah,
it was in
Harrison's
the middle.
a rookie right now in the NFL. So
that's true. Yeah. Marvin Harrison was on that team. But so it was two years ago. Still early on in the streak of losses to Michigan.
Yeah.
Where you weren't sure. I mean, you remember in 2021, like Harbaugh was on death's door as far as Michigan goes. Like,
that 2020 season was not great for Michigan, right? The COVID year? Yeah, he had a rough go.
It was dicey. And then Michigan is turning the corner at that point. It wasn't the same as it is now. This year just feels so much more backbreaking. I mean, it was just brutal. You're 21-point favorite at home. Like all of these things that were stacked up in your favor, and you still blow it. And it's Ryan Day's fault. And this guy is already kind of getting on your nerves, and you just, he can't beat. He's not winning in the playoffs. He's not beating Michigan. What are we even doing here? I tell you about Zen Sports. Zen Sports just picked their grand prize winner for the November Big Game Sweepstakes, and they are running it back this December with the Big Game Sweepstakes College Edition. This time, instead of going for the big game in the pros, they're giving you a chance to go for the very first big game in the new college football tournament. There's a grand prize of $10,000 cash and 2 tickets to the biggest college football game of 2025. You know, it's the one in Atlanta. And the ability to earn entries on every bet you place in December. It doesn't get better. If you don't win the grand prize, don't worry. You'll also have a shot to win 10 smaller prizes that grant you $1,000 towards any college football playoff game. So what are you waiting for? Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for a full list of rules and earn a $100 no danger first wager while you're at it. Zen Sports, betting just got better. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. No danger wager limited, plus 500 odds to qualify. Terms and conditions apply. A qualifying wager for a wager entry must have minimum odds for any leg in the entry of at least -250. American odds for clarity, a -251 does not qualify. Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for all terms and conditions. Must be 21 or older in Tennessee to bet.
And that I agree with that.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Close. You're getting close.
But at this moment, that's what I'm getting at. Is we've got to stop sitting here acting like I'm always going to be a Tennessee homer. Hell, it's my alma mater. I'm going to be. But I am going to be a realist about our offense too, and about our defense. And I will. But I won't sit here and act like we're the worst thing. It's this, and this, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've said it. We do need to hit the portal better. We need to recruit that area better. But 10-3 after being less than one full signing class through, like in the past, of being absolute dumpster fire, and 7 years removed from a petition to not hire a coach. Do you see where I'm at? We have to also put this into perspective of where we are at and going, holy bleep. Us making it to the playoff at this point is tremendous because of where we have been and our fans buying back into our program, our community buying back into our program, the players wanting to come play for a program that was in such disarray. Now, yes, we need more. We do need more of them, and we know that.
I think this is an interesting thought exercise. I still, the way the season exactly went, I think Tennessee should have been playing this game at home. That said, the way I
agree with that. I do.
But the way that this game went, I think Tennessee still probably to some extent gets its butt kicked, even at home. Because
Ohio State is seasoned in this area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean Tennessee under Heupel has been nearly unbeatable at home. Again, in the last 2 years, they have lost one time, and it was to Georgia. But this Ohio State team, talent-wise, is right there with Georgia. I don't think they're there coaching-wise, but talent-wise, they're right there. Frankly, the fact that they're not there coaching-wise makes this all that much worse. But if that had happened and you get outclassed, but it's closer at home, I kind of wonder exactly where the conversation is, because what this game tonight also adds to that we really haven't even mentioned yet is just the entire aura, if that's the right word, the aura of Heupel of this man can't win a road football game to save his life. Like, and it's not, again, tonight was going to be an uphill battle because you saw right here laid bare how truly talented this team is and how much of an absolute embarrassing screw up that Michigan game was. I mean, what were they doing? Look how good this team is. How do you lose that game? Truly. Yeah. How do you lose that game? What were you doing that week? Look at this team and look in the mirror. Like,
rivalry games are different. We all know that.
Holy cow.
Rivalry games are different. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my only answer I can say to that one. Because I don't have an answer to that, because they should not have lost to Michigan.
But I tweeted this near the end of the game. I mean, this all but solidifies. I already felt this way, and I kind of been holding on to hope. But frankly, obviously, we do these game predictions every week with me and Zach Reagan on the old Big Orange podcast. I don't think I'm going to pick Josh Heupel to win a football game against anybody that's not Vandy or Kentucky until he does it, frankly. You had the Oklahoma game this year, and that's very, very cool that game happened. It was a bit of a slog, but a big time moment in Heupel's tenure at Tennessee. But ultimately, like that Oklahoma team's not good.
You know what that reminds me of? What you just said. So one of my coaches is a huge Penn State guy. So I've said this multiple times, or asked this, is Heupel our Mark Richt? Well, Mark Richt is retired, so I'll take it a different way. Is Heupel Tennessee's James Franklin? Where
that's a better comparison.
And I think the more that, because when you said that, it kind of clicked in my head by going, I had this conversation today about Penn State by going, we know they're going to beat SMU. I mean, hell, is SMU. But until he beats Ohio State or Michigan, it's Penn State. It's James Franklin. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that now you got to add Oregon into that because of the Big Ten. Is that where we're at of going, yeah, we beat the Alabama, we beat the Florida, but now we can't beat Georgia, and we got to get over that hump. And
can't be Florida on the road. Can't be Florida on the road.
Yes, true.
That's my biggest one, probably.
I think that might be a better comparison. Is like for us, Heupel is a lot like James Franklin in the sense of, until we do it, it's going to be hard to believe it. And I want to believe it, and I'm always going to be that homer. But I do agree with you in that sense. Like, it's going to be hard to sit here and go, in a realistic way, we're going to do X, Y, Z until we just go do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting to look after the year that Tennessee has had. You saw with the baseball team, like the way that team was constructed, they were the best team in that thing. They played like it. They showed up in every game. And you saw the team with the most talent and the best coach do exactly all of that. And what that looks like in the context of college sports. And here, Ohio State probably has the best roster in college football. They have a coach that should be at frickin' Toledo, but still they have an incredible roster, and so it's just tough to see because
we have holes we need to fill.
You do, and it's just almost. I don't want to say it feels hopeless. It's not hopeless because a 10-2 season is awesome and it was a ton of fun. Hopeless is not the right word, but I don't know the exact word I'm searching for here. But it feels really, really tough because you want so badly to be at this level, but you're just not. And
we're on the cusp
not,
of it.
You are, but you're still just outside looking in, and it's such a sweet feeling when you're like with that baseball team. It's such a sweet feeling walking in and being like, we're the best, we're the baddest dudes entering this thing, and you want to feel like you are right there. And now, in a game against Alabama, now you do walk in feeling that way, and that's amazing. Heupel accomplished that much, but you still are a full step behind when it comes to national championship competition.
And the main reason why, in my opinion, is depth.
I think that is it. That is it.
We do lack depth at DB. We have really good DBs, but we don't have 4 or 5, if not a 6th DB. You know what I'm saying? Because you play 4 DBs, right? Minimum. You go to nickel personnel where there's your 5th, so you got to have 5 quote unquote starters. Well, so you really need a 6th in case one goes down. You see what I'm getting at? Like, that's what we don't have. That we need depth at O line. We did have depth at D line, and our front 7 was really good this year. That stuff.
But even still, it struggled in really big spots. Defensive line didn't show up at Georgia, didn't show up in this game. Like, I don't exactly know how to reconcile that. That is tough because, I mean, you literally had, like, they came and dominated in 11 games. Dominated to the point where, like, you were constantly injuring opposing quarterbacks. I mean, it was crazy, some of the games they had. And then in the big moments, they do nothing.
But once again, it's not that those are the comments that I just can't swallow. It's like, oh, they did nothing. You can't help a BS holding call or a roughing the passer call or an underthrown go ball, or you can go holding on an O lineman literally every play, literally every play. O linemen are actually taught to grab pads. You see what I'm getting at? Like, that's the stuff I can't swallow that one. I can't.
The situation's just. I do, and I don't know. The situation's just weird because if you weird is the right word. That is the right word, and maybe this is a kind of way for me to say this because if you think this all the way out, let's say Tennessee beats Arkansas, and obviously, I mean, they were one defensive stop away from doing that. They would have won 14-13. It would have been ugly, but it would have been a win, and you would have essentially been Texas, where it wasn't the most beautiful season of all time, but you win 11-1. You play for the SEC championship game. You get beat, and then you end up there. Tennessee would beat Clemson. Tennessee would beat Arizona State. Then you would have made it to the final, and that would have been a ton of fun. But neither of those are just like, oh my gosh, you beat like a team that's completely on the decline with a coach that refuses to go to the transfer portal, and then you beat Arizona State.
But that's a shoulda, coulda, woulda situation.
Well, but no, but this is what I'm saying, and I don't think Ohio State fans would disagree with that. When you look at it, I think it's a very fair thing to say that Tennessee, in it, like you said, very draw based. Tennessee could have easily made it to the semifinal, but eventually, you're gonna play Ohio State or Oregon, and again, it just breaks down into two conversations of saying, whoa, with a different draw, we make it to the semifinal of the playoff. That's incredible. Also, you probably show up at the semifinal and get your butt kicked like you did tonight. So where does that leave us? I don't know. Like I said, it's a weird situation. There's no just straight up there's no way to feel good about this.